Good evening and welcome to the special council meeting of Tuesday, December the 16th at 2025 at 5:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you conduct roll call, please?
Revimo.
Present.
Councillor Legree.
Present.
Councillor McWhorter.
Present.
Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor Sobalski.
Present.
Councillor Enderdick.
Present.
Revimo, we do have quorum.
Thank you. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we're extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Are there any declarations of community interest? Seeing none, we're able to go forward. And the delegation, Haley Heaslip, please.
All right. So before I start, I just wanted to say thank you to all those who have shown up. I am an emotional person. I'm going to try my best to not cry. And also all those who have gone online and sent emails. Okay. So most of you know me, or at least know my name. Over the past several days, I've been very vocal about my concerns regarding the proposed vote, including on Facebook. I want to be clear from the outset, I am not opposed to making cuts, nor do I believe any department should be immune from financial scrutiny. What I'm here to speak on tonight is the real and lasting impacts that a cut of this magnitude would have on our community. My name is Haley Heaslip. I am both a resident of Renfrew and the acting chair of the Renfrew Public Library Board. I'm here this evening to speak about the proposed reduction to the library's operating budget, a reduction that, if implemented, would significantly affect programs, staffing, hours of operation, and access to essential services relied upon by residents across Renfrew and Horton Township. I moved to Renfrew 3 years ago, and like many new residents, I wanted to find ways to connect and feel at home in this town. The first program I attended at the library was a speed friending program. I'm happy to say that I made 2 of my new friends, and now close friends, at that community program. That experience gave me a sense of belonging in a town I proudly call home. Since then, I've had the joy of watching my niece-in-law get her first library card, participate in programs that inspired her curiosity and love of learning. I've seen children come to the library to share how much they value our longtime children's librarian who retired last year and the lasting impact she had on their lives and passion for literacy. These are moments demonstrated just how deeply the library matters to families and young people in our community. Some of our elementary schools do not have libraries, which means our small but mighty public library is often the only place outside the classroom where children can explore reading, learn, and discover new worlds. Many families simply cannot afford to purchase books for their children, and frankly, have you seen the prices of books lately? The library provides opportunities completely free, ensuring children have access to learning and imagination regardless of their family's financial situation. But the library is not just for children. It's a safe, inclusive, and welcoming space for residents of all ages. Adults rely on the library computers and internet access for work, education, job searching, staying connected. Vulnerable individuals use the library as a warm, safe space during the day or to access essential resources they may not have elsewhere. The library quietly supports people in ways that often go unseen, but are no less critical. Before I continue, I want to propose a question to Council, and I do so with the understanding that no response is required at this time. How many of you, an elected representative entrusted with serving all members of this community, have participated in library programs, attended an event, or even step foot inside the Renfrew Public Library in the recent months to see firsthand the impact this space has on our town. Have you seen the children gathered for story time? Students using computers because they don't have internet at home. Seniors attending programs to remain socially connected, or individuals simply seeking a safe, welcoming place during the day. I ask this not in criticism, but an invitation. Because the true value of a library cannot be captured in a spreadsheet alone. Its impact is lived, experienced, and felt every single day by the people you represent. Cutting such a massive amount from this essential service threatens programs, staffing, and operating hours, and access to resources that countless residents rely on daily. These are not abstract numbers. They represent real people, real children, real families, and real unfortunate consequences. A reduction of this magnitude would significantly weaken the foundation of what makes our library a vibrant and indispensable community hub. I also want to be clear that what a return to 2024 budget truly means in practice. The 2024 municipal budget request was effectively reduced by an approximately $40,000 due to a facility rental revenue that the library no longer is receiving. Returning to the funding level today does not account for the lost revenue, nor does it reflect the increased operational costs the library now faces. As a result, reverting to the 2024 budget would actually represent a deeper functional cut than it may appear on paper. Libraries are not a luxury, they are an investment in our communities. They foster learning, connection, opportunity, and inclusion. They help newcomers like me feel welcome, give children a space to grow and explore, and provide vital support to those who need it most. As acting chair of the Renfrew Public Library Board, I will not be silent on a decision of this magnitude. I'm here to advocate for the residents of Renfrew and to assure Council fully understands the human impact of proposing a funding reduction of this amount. Our library is more than a building, it's a literal cornerstone to our town and deserves protection, not erosion. I urge Council to carefully consider the long-term consequences of the decisions. By maintaining adequate funding for the Renfrew Public Library, you are not simply preserving a line item. You are protecting opportunity, connection, dignity, and hope for generations to come. Thank you for your time, consideration, and your commitment to the well-being of Renfrew, and I sincerely hope you stand with the residents of our community in supporting this vital institution. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Normally we don't allow displays. I apologize, but that's the rules. Thank you. With that, Council, is there any other comments you need to act on or get some more information? Councillor McDonald?
Thank you. No, I just want to thank you for coming in, and for everyone else. That's what it's all about, municipal politics, to have a voice. And that was very civilized conversation in terms of your approach. So thank you very much.
Councillor LaGree.
Through you, Emo. Yes, thank you. I have a bunch of notes here, but you've hit, I think, every one of them right on the head. I want to point out to Council here tonight, we had a budget meeting open to the public and we had 15 people show up. Tonight, we don't have enough chairs for people here. I received phone calls, text messages, emails, everything. That's how the community is so involved in the library and how much it does for the community. So I just thank you. You've hit all my notes, and I'm going to do a great job. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald, supplementary?
Sort of. Thank you. I do have comments to make later on, but it's when the report comes up.
Absolutely.
So, but I think you nailed your presentation very well. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Emo, and through you. Thank you very much for the presentation. Well done. I do have one question because I just want to have an understanding of what you stated. And you hit something that hit me, and you just didn't follow up on it, so I'm just kind of curious. Mm-hmm. So you stated if we make these cuts, that essential services will be lost, they'll disappear, but you didn't say which ones.
Because that's not my spot to make those decisions. I am not responsible for the exact programming. I may sit on the board, but there will be cuts. But I think that your next agenda line will be able to cover those specific items.
Okay, I appreciate that. The only reason I'm asking you is because you stated it, so
Yep,
I just wanted to hear it from you. Thank you very much. Great presentation, and thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Very informative. And I'd like to thank everybody for the emails that I spent the last 2 days responding to, so I appreciate that. I did learn something from some of them, so I do appreciate your effort and time. And with that, we'll move to the next part of the agenda, which is D1, Renfrew Public Library Impact to Services Budget Cuts. And Director, please. Oh, I'm sorry. That Renfrew Town Council receive the Renfrew Public Library Impact to Services Budget Cuts report as information. A mover, please. Councillor McDonald. Second, Councillor Legree. And now, Director.
Thank you, through you, Reeve. At the December 2nd, 2025 budget meeting, a recommendation was put forward that Renfrew Town Council reduce the 2026 Renfrew Library grant to be the same as what was presented in 2024 at a total of $611,222. Reducing the grant would effectively be a reduction of over $117,208 compared to the Library Board's proposed 2026 budget. The Library Board held a special meeting on December 11th to discuss the implications of this drastic reduction. The following report will touch on some of the impacts to the community that will result from the cut. As background, in 2024, RPL welcomed 681 new members, had 3,682 active members, and saw almost 43,000 people through the doors, including 6,501 children, teens, and adults who participated in over 503 programs. RPL was also fortunate to have 609 hours donated by community volunteers and co-op students. However, those are numbers. Every single person who enters, as indicated in the delegation, has different needs. Some want to borrow a book or movie, others want to meet new people or learn a new skill. Still others are looking for resources, tech or research assistance, use of the internet, or simply a safe place. As the library CEO, I have worked in public libraries for over 25 years, including the last 10 of those here in Renfrew. It has been a very long time since libraries have only been used for borrowing books and doing research. They continue to be one of the only safe places for so many, a warming and cooling center for those experiencing homelessness, a snack and quiet corner when even home may not be the safest place. Libraries are about people, and everyone who comes in has a different need and story, and Renfrew Public Library is no different. RPL provides food through a partnership with the local food bank. Teens and children come in after school and during holidays for snacks, warmth, and conversation. Besides food, the library provides free feminine hygiene products for those who may not be able to afford it. Staff connect people to services in the Renfrew and in the county for everything from emergency shelter to income tax assistance and job searching. We partner with organizations such as On Track, who sets up in the library several times throughout the year. Staff help people print resumes, fax documents, email family members, and learn how to use their cell phones and tablets. So many still do not have access to the internet, and this tends to be forgotten in our technological age. Staff also provide outreach service to local senior homes, visiting, bringing books and materials. And at times, a library staff member may be the only person that someone has spoken to or visited with that day. RPL also has a partnership with McKay Manor so that those going through treatment can borrow materials and use the internet. Many continue to use the library long after their treatment has been completed. Programs such as Tickles and Giggles Baby Story Time is filled with little ones and their family laughing and singing. And special program is often paid for through grants and outside funding. The list goes on, and there are countless examples of the impact a library has on a community. Earlier this year, Chief Librarian Murdoch brought forward a report which showed the social return on investment for RPL. For every dollar invested in the library, there's a $6.08 return. It is an extremely used and valued by the community. Out of 5 years, the library came in below the budgeted operating amounts 3 of those years. The increase in staffing costs was in part due to the creation of a director position created by the town. Originally, the position was to be responsible for the library, community services, and the museum. However, this position grew to include recreation, economic development, and facilities. At that time, a larger percentage of the director's budget was included in the library's budget. However, due to the responsibilities of the position, there is an argument that too much of that salary may have been allotted to the library. Finally, the 2026 library budget accounts for only a 0.46% of the overall 8.81 increase discussed at the December 2nd meeting, less than half a percentage point. For comparison, while the library has requested $785,000 for 2026, the recreation request is $3.6 million. Both of these are considered non-essential services, but both are highly valued by many in the community. At the meeting of the Library Board on December 11th, the discussion revolved solely around how to cut the requested $117,000 from the library's budget. The board is more than willing to look at cuts, but to meet the ask of this council, the following will be affected. 1 full-time and 4 part-time positions. There will be a reduction in open hours. There will be a reduction in class visits and programs for families and children. Community partners that use the library spaces will also see a reduction in the available spaces and timings. And I would also like to note that due to the time allotted to prepare this report, the full extent will not be known until this is put into place. And all of these reductions still only result in a savings of $107,704. To reduce it by the full $117,000, there will need to be even more cuts and closures of the facility. From the library's ask for 2026, approximately $136,000 is operational expenditures, which includes items like insurance, building maintenance, and collections, and the rest is staffing, because the staff are the true asset of that facility, and every one of them goes above and beyond to help every individual who comes through the doors. While the Library Board understands that cuts need to happen, they also want to stress that when the economy is suffering and people are struggling, public library use always increases. RPL wants to ensure that it remains able to fulfill its mandate to connect people with what they need to survive and thrive, and removing $117,000 from the library's budget will make that a difficult thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of council? Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you. I guess I'll start it off, and I have a couple of comments to make, and specifically to deal with the report. I was a bit frustrated with the report when I went through it initially because I felt, and this is my position, there were limited options. I don't see a positive business plan. It seemed to be very subjective with limited data. However, I do realize you're under tight time constraints with regard to it. I want to deal next with financials, and this is how I frame everything from my perspective. And I'm not saying I'm right, but my picture needs to be a bit bigger in terms of the town. So I appreciate everyone coming in here with regard to the library, but I'm also looking at a bunch of different factors. So one of them I deal with is regard to the financials. So under our council, as long as we've been here since 2022, the original budget that went in was about, I'm going to use generalities, was about $573,000 when we first came on here. So the proposal for the 2026 budget was $785,000. So that's a difference of $211,000 increase under our watch. So that's what I have an issue with. If we go to the cost of living from 2022 to 2025, we're talking about an 8.6% cost of living. If we deal with the actual numbers that I've just specified, from 2022 to 2026, if the budget was to go through at the $785,000, that's an increase of 36%. So cost of living is 8.6. The actual budgetary request would take it to 36.9%. So we've had to deal with the ramifications of Mattaway. Everyone's aware of that, and the town hall expansion, which has hammered our budget processes over the last 2 to 3 years. And our eyes were focused on that, trying to keep that cleaned up. And when the libraries went through, because the question could be asked, why didn't you deal with some of the cuts or navigate this during the last 2 to 3 years? For me, it probably fell under the radar because there were much bigger issues and in terms of the damage that was done to the town finances. So that's my opinion in terms of where it fell under my watch. Every other department under our watch has had to decimate their budgets, even to the point of canceling magazine subscriptions to absorb the Mattaway and Town Hall renovation. populations. We need to be financially good stewards of our library. There is no endless supply of money. The town is at a critical junction financially, and I see it as an all-hands-on-deck approach. The reality, if the town was to go bankrupt or go into financial, even a worse crisis, there would be no library. So I'm trying to balance everything out here. I do appreciate the passion and the concern regarding the library. I have that too. I think it's a great facility. And Councillor Degree and the director have provided nothing but great information to us as we've navigated the last 2 to 3 years. Like the library, every department is frustrated with our budget cuts. The departments just don't have the ability to come forth as a delegation as you're able to tonight with regard to the library. And that's just because we have no control over the library. Yes, we grant money to them, but we ultimately have no say in where that money goes. So we give money, but we have no control over it. And whereas when we deal internally with staff and the different directors, we do have some say and some control. So it's like giving a check, but no control over where it goes. And that's some of my concerns, but that's just the way the system's set up. So I want to deal with some comparables right now. So Renfrew, our population, everyone knows, is about 8,200. We have 5 full-time librarians, or staff, and our budget proposal for this year is $785,000. We deal with Arnprior, our next closest neighbor. They have approximately 9,600 population, and from what I understand, they have 2 full-time staff. I could be corrected on that, but their budget for the library is $333,000. So almost half of what our budget is. I'll deal with Petawawa next. So a population that's 2.5 times almost our population at 18,000, and they have 5 full-time staff at about an $800,000 budget. So I may be off on some of the actual numbers because it's hard to get the data with regard to the library when you're looking for it. So you have to search kind of long and hard, but that's what I've been able to come up with, and I could stand to be corrected. So what I'd like to talk about is the Renfrew, Arnprior, and Petawawa one. Renfrew has the smallest population in terms of the data we have, yet our financial cost is comparable to the highest one up in Petawawa, and our full-time staff is comparable to that too at 5. So I'm just giving you some of the data that as I frame my decision basing. I want to deal with the return on investment because we talk about that, and as I've researched that, and it's particularly on page 3 of the report that came in, and I'll quote it: social return on investment, for every dollar invested in the library, there's a $6.08 return. From the research I've done, there are real issues that have been identified using this study. It's not fully independent or a third party. It's very subjective. It's not objective utilizing concrete data. It can overstate real impacts. There's an oversimplification for complex social issues. In my opinion, is it shouldn't be used to justify budgets moving forward because there are a lot of issues with regard to how the study was done. It's something you can look at, but there's no concrete data to back it up. And the other problem I had with the report, and again there were tight time constraints, is I like to see solutions or options or even a business plan. And that should have been more flushed out in the report that we have had to deal with. And keep in mind, we can't direct the library what to do. So we can only talk about options. So these are some of the options that I would have liked to have seen in the report. Perhaps we can look at a cost recovery, annual memberships, dues for those who can afford it, much like the Mattaway Gym. So yes, the town has the gym, but if you want to become a member, you pay a fee for it. So for those that potentially could afford a membership fee over at the library, maybe that's something that we could look at utilizing. A fee for service or pay what you can, fundraising campaign, donations, sponsorship, rooms, or some of the events potentially, maybe a volunteer expansion for the library, and looking at more detailed into grants and external funding. I'm well aware of our director, she's really good with the grants, but maybe external funding through private partnerships or whatever. And lastly, what I'm looking at is efficiencies. When we do the comparables to adjacent population centers, I think there's room for efficiencies, and that's where my position is. There was some other stuff I was going to talk about, I'll leave it for now. The conclusion, if council did not look into the library budget and the finances, I feel would be neglecting our duties as councillors. So this is just a simple exercise in what we're being paid to do across all different departments. And it's simply good governance. And I really enjoyed the approach, and I respected the approach you brought in today, because this can be a polarizing subject when it shouldn't be. We should be able to have conversations about it with everyone explaining their viewpoints. So I really appreciate how the delegation was done today. We all want to see the library flourish. We want to see the town flourish. And I think I can speak for everyone at this council session. But my opinion is there's data. I think the director made a comment earlier on with regard to the libraries are about people. And it is. Libraries are about people, page 2. And it is about people, but it's also about financial viability, in that we need to be able to continue to allow the library to flourish and this town. So I don't have all the answers, but that's how I'm framing my approach with regard to this. So again, thank you. Thank you, Reeve.
Thank you. Other members of council? Councillor Legree, please.
Through you, Reeve Emo. So I first off want to thank Director Latondras. You had days to put this together, so I understand why. I think you did a great job. For council to request such a drastic cut in a budget to any department at the end of the budget is not the right thing to do. This should have been brought up, in my opinion, earlier on. We're at budget meeting, what, 7, 8 now, Reeve? This should have been brought up at the beginning so we could physically look at what the cuts are, what it, like, if the money is cut, what does that affect? It's not fair to compare Renfrew with Arnprior or Petawawa in my mind, because we don't know what Arnprior offers for. We also don't know, Renfrew brings in from Horton and AdMass and all that. Does Arnprior do that? I don't know. I sit on the Renfrew Public Library Board now for, I don't know, a couple of years, I guess. And one councillor here has reached out to me to see what my thoughts were on it, which is sad, because there's a lot more than one councillor sitting here tonight. So how can this council ask the department, any department, to cut that when they don't know what the outcome in the end is going to be? It's not fair, and it's not right. And I would encourage council, if they want to look into this, then let's do that like later on in May and June, so we can get the good, like a right picture of what we're comparing. And if we want to compare with other municipalities, and then we can get that information. But to do this now and throw this on the director like last week and cut this, it's not right. It's not right. And I work for the public. All these people out here, the emails, the phone calls, everything I got. This room is full. It wasn't full on budget night. There was 15 people sitting there in the corner. They're standing here tonight. So I do what they say, what they want me to do, because that's who I work for. They're paying my wage here. And I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I will be supporting the library tonight. So thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Reeve. And to Councillor Legree's point, he's right, and I understand the director was rushed in getting this report done. I would like to see more detail and data. So what are the timelines we can with regard to the budget? How far can we push the budget out to accommodate her ability to look into this properly? I'll leave that with you, but that's okay. I understand where he's coming about. We can talk about that later.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Members of council? Councillor Zabolski.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. I'll do my best. I've been far under the weather. But I do need to weigh in on this a little bit. And data runs our decisions. Data runs the difference in us being successful and not successful. And as said before, this is an emotional topic, and I need to have the right data to make the right decision. And within that, through you, Reeve, I'll do my best to potentially pass questions back and forth. But although we did meet on December 2nd, at the end of that meeting, I do believe we got our projected budget down to 4.14 in the area, but yet the data presented in the report is still representing an 8.81. So therefore, the impact that the library has to the overall budget isn't identified correctly in the report. I do have a small issue with that. I've tried to bounce lots of different numbers through the calculator. I've tried to justify it. I do like how Councillor McDonald framed a lot of items. In our watch, this particular grant has grown $211,000 plus. That's $50,000 plus per year that we haven't necessarily challenged, and I do believe that this is a good meeting to finally challenge it, regardless of the outcome. I find that a little bit excessive to use the percentages again. Thank you, Councillor McDonald, for the extra work. 36% increase is quite high over our duration, but the one that's really aggravating me, and I respect the effort that the individuals put into the library as the employees, but for me to give a grant to any recipient to learn that 82% of the funding that I'm giving is going solely to wages, I find that high. I know that the individuals are doing a good job for the town of Renfrew, but 82% of the funding is going to wages, which equates to 18% is potentially going to the residents, and it's also framed in here from that 18% there's insurance and hydro and other expenses. So the way it works out per dollar, you know, it's very much one-sided. I would like to see those percentages changed. I find 82% just for wages is not the proper. Now, I haven't done my research to find out where other libraries are at. If that's the norm, if that's the accepted norm, I would love to see a 50-50 operation. I would love to have the idea that our residents are getting more opportunity, more computers, more tablets, more snacks, more food, or whatever it may be. With all that said, to maybe close up, or at least I think I'm getting to closing, we had a report that was issued to us on December 9th, which talks about new development and dwelling units in the town of Renfrew. From 2023, 2024, 2025, in total, we've had 11 new dwellings, whether it's single family dwelling, a semi-detached, or a townhouse. We've grown by 11 units. We have a lot of work to do in this area. It doesn't justify the 36% increase to the library. I'm still trying to understand where all the numbers jive. If we were lining up in a row, I would be totally in acceptance of it. But at this point, I am having a hard time accepting the proposed 2026 budget. I'll pass it off.
Thank you. Okay, so the report, Councillor McWhirter and then Councillor Andrew Dick.
You, Chair. I might as well weigh in here now. And I've listened to some of my councillors, and they've all made great points. Like Councillor Legree, I do answer to every taxpayer in this town. And the biggest thing I've heard for the last 2 or 3 years is my taxes are going to put me out of my house. So as councillors, we're elected to make the hard decisions. Sometimes they're not popular, but we have to make the decisions. If you recall, in the beginning, we asked every department to go back to their departments and find some cost savings, and every one of them did that. And then we asked them to go back again, and they found cost savings. I'm not saying the library didn't, but if the library didn't at that time, they should have. Even though we have no control over the library, as Councillor McDonald said, they come to us every year and ask for a donation or a grant, whatever you want to call it, and we give them, and we have in the past, up until this year, gave what they asked. But sooner or later, every department gets looked at, and you have to do the checks and balances. Are we getting, has somebody come up with a new business plan, or are we simply just giving them money without them actually taking a hard look at where they can save money? Because to Councillor McDonald's point, we have looked into some of the other libraries around the area, and they seem to be doing it for less. It's not our job to tell the library how to run their business. That we have no authority with that. We're just simply the people that look after, councillors that look after the taxpayer of Renfrew pocketbook. And we're tasked with that. So we have to make the hard choices here. Sometimes they're not the most popular choice, and sometimes it could cost you an election, but that's why we get elected. Somebody has to make the choices. And we don't just make it about the library. I mean, the fire department, which is an essential service, cut their budget. So I might sound a little passionate here about this, but I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying as counselors, our job is to make these decisions. And right or wrong, whether you like where we're sitting right now or not, the last couple of years, we've had some really hard decisions based on a previous council's mistakes. And we just had another one this year, as you all know, with the accounting department. Way it worked out, we were in the hole 8% right off the bat. So we've had to make, again, some hard decisions, and every department in this town has done that, and to their credit, staff has done an awesome job to find us those savings. The only one that hasn't yet is the library. Now, last year we didn't ask the library to do any cuts, we just asked them to give us the best budget they could, and the year before. But those other departments were all brought to task and asked to come back with cost savings because of what happened. This is the first year that this council has even discussed the library. So to Councillor McDonald's credit to bring this up, and to your question, sooner or later you need to do the checks and balances, and that's what this is about. Unfortunately, that budget discussion should have happened earlier, you're right, but this is where we are right now. I agree. When I look at this and I see a budget for $646,000 going to wages on a budget of $785,000, that seems a little high to me. I've been in business for a number of years in the past. As a business owner, I would be wanting to have a hard look at my budget going forward and looking at where it's been. There's only 5 full-time jobs, $600,000. Kind of, makes you wonder where we're going with all this. So I'm having a hard time not agreeing with Councillor McDonald on the cut. Whether we need a full percent at $124,000, I don't know. I'm willing to discuss that. I don't see the library closing anytime soon. We're still giving them $600-some thousand. It's not like the world's coming to an end. It's simply checks and balances. This year you got checked up. The last 4 years, there hasn't been any. So every other department has done it. And again, essential services such as fire has done it. So, I have no problem looking at this. Now's the time. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Councillor Andrew Dick, please.
Thank you, Revimo. And through you. So I think what the public and all of us are really forgetting is no one here has argued that the library is poorly run. No one's arguing that it's underutilized or unimportant to the community. And, and no one is recommending closing the library here. That has never came up. Here's the problem. Renfrew is in a financial crisis. We are in a lot of trouble, okay? And Councillor McMurdo said it perfect. He said all departments have been asked to cut and figure it out. And they have all done that. They have come back and they've said, here, we can do this. I could probably, just off the top of my head, name certain managers and directors in here who for the last 3 years have came and asked for something and we have said no. And every year they come back and ask for it and we say no again because we just can't do it at this time. I'm a huge guy when it comes to solutions, and as much as I respect this report, there's no solutions in here. There's a list of what the library does, and we all know it does a great job, but it doesn't say what's going to be cut if we get rid of this $117,000. It says 1 full-time and 4 part-time positions will be affected. So that concerns me that $117,000 we're paying for 1 full-time and 4 part-time positions. So the problem with me is there's not enough information in the report to make a great decision here. It's heartfelt, but there's no actual data, there's no numbers, and there's no solutions, or there's no plan to move forward if we vote no. And so that's concerning to me, and I will agree with Councillor agree with what he said. He said, like, Director Latondras didn't have enough time, so I am in agreement with the Councillor McDonald. If we could allow some more time, that Director Latondras maybe can come back with some hardcore data and numbers on this, that would help me in making my decision. I would really appreciate that. I'd also like to mention that it's been mentioned quite a few times tonight that the council represents members of the community, and we have a lot of members of the community here representing the library. But we have to, I hope the public will understand that we represent all members of the community. And as many as the good emails we got this week, we also got other emails saying, I actually had a guy stop me in the street, he said, close the library, we don't need it. 100% that's what he said to me. I don't agree with that, but you got to remember there's people out there that are looking at us when we make decisions. So we're like an umpire. We're going to call you out. Half the team's going to love us, half the team's going to hate us, and that's where we're at with this. You just got to the public's got to remember we represent the whole community, and sometimes we have to make tough decisions. And obviously, this will be a tough one tonight. But again, I just want to bring it back to the public. We are in a major financial crisis. And we need the public, we need council, we need the Reeve, we need the mayor, and we need staff to be on the same team. And we need to come up with solutions as a group of individuals in this town and figure it out together. So hopefully we could give Director Latondras some more time, Reeve Emo, to come back with some hardcore data. That would help me render my decision. Thank you.
Director, please.
Thank you. So I'm not sure where to start. So first of all, respectfully, the library did go back to their original budget and reduce it and bring it back again. So that is one thing. It's in the minutes and it was done. The other thing is I can tell you that in 2022 and 2023, the library came in under budget. The deficit in 2024 was due to a QP agreement. As far as coming up with a plan. The plan is the staffing positions. I am unable to come to a public meeting and indicate who on my team will no longer be on my team. That is not something, that is why it was kept at a higher level. It's definitely going to affect staffing. Which means it's going to affect open hours. And that's okay. If that is what council votes here tonight, then as indicated in the report, we will make the necessary changes. The Volt report that Councillor McDonald referred to was actually given to us and is endorsed by the Ontario Library Association, the Federation of Ontario Public Libraries, among other things. So we did not, this is not something that, this is used by many libraries across Canada, not just us. So that's why we used it. That's why we ran all the data, and it took weeks to fill in all of the information and the numbers and everything else that was requested. At the end of the day, we don't have road equipment. We're not running fire trucks. We're not, the library is the staff that's there, and that is who does all the work. It's not the machines. It's not we do the partnerships as much as we can. We bring in grants as much as we can. As noted, we operate on very little operational budgets and do a heck of a lot with that amount of money. At the end of the day, the library will continue to serve the community based on what this council decides that it is going to give for a grant, just like other libraries do. I have a little bit of concern comparing to other library systems, which I'm certainly not going to comment on any other ones, but I have worked in a lot of them throughout the county. And there is different levels of service. So what they are given indicates what their levels of service are. So reducing what we're getting is fair, and that's, that is up to council to decide, and it does mean that our level of service is affected. Does it mean the library is going to close? No, nobody said it was going to close. It's definitely going to affect our levels of service. I would need to know exactly what I'm I'm not sure what figures it is. Like, the financials are there. The amount of years that we came under, I did indicate that part of the increase in wages was the director position. That became a huge position that was certainly not getting, originally it was 50% of this position was supposed to be allocated to the library. Well, they don't get anywhere near 50% of that position. So there has been reasons for the staffing. But again, I respect council's decision, and the library will do what it's always done, and we'll serve the community, but it definitely will affect staffing and service.
Just so I might remind council, we're only voting on this as information, and then we actually have a motion, if you look at your agenda, that's probably going to generate more discussion, so you may want to save that and just receive this as information. So all those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And now attached are the minutes of the December 2nd, 2025 Budget Committee meeting, including a motion for council's consideration. The Renfrew Town Council reduced the 2026 Renfrew Public Library grant to be the same as what was presented in 2024 at a total of $611,222. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor McDonald, second. Councillor Sobalski. Now discussion. Councillor McDonald and then Councillor Legree.
Thank you. To the point that we've all spoken to here, are we able to table this to allow the director to come back with more information? And that might give us the opportunity, if we have very specific questions, to direct them towards her or have discussions with her.
Ask the clerk, because there is the strong mayor overlay on this, and it could cause a problem in terms of timing. But clerk, please.
Okay, through you, Reeve. So basically, the original request for the budget committee was set through a mayoral decision. The mayoral decision was to have the draft budget provided to him back in November. An extension was requested, and basically the new extension date was January 2nd. So if the budget committee, and I'll just remind that we're in council right now, if the budget committee so wishes to request that the mayor issue another mayoral decision to amend and to ask for further extension, that is an option. It would be for the mayor's decision at that point to do that. I would note that timing could be an issue. At this point in time, we are December 16th with Christmas holidays fastly approaching. So, and there's a budget meeting scheduled for tonight. So my question to council and then also the budget committee is, what would you foresee as timing on that? Because the process has already started with the budget, the mayor will be proposing the budget sometime on or before February 1st. There is no opportunity after that point to delay it further because the process has already been initiated.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, through you. So, and I'm just trying to flesh this out here, because of the Christmas holidays, I get that. Are we able to request another extension to deal specifically with this issue properly? And I was talking to another councillor, and some of the other councils are just starting their budget stuff, or budget deliberations now. So, the only reason we're under a tight timeline is because we initiated this. But there should be no problem if we requested an extension through the strong mayor powers. That gives everyone time to be satisfied with the direction we're taking, and in fairness to the director to answer some of our questions. So I'm just wondering, is that an option, Reeve?
Yes, it's an option. It looks like we would ask for an extension to probably the middle of January, with the idea that we would meet on the 5th or 6th or 8th, something like that, as a budget committee, to finalize it and then present it to the mayor. My worry is that we might not have the opportunity to deal with the amendment portions of it if once the mayor presents the budget, there is a period where we can amend it. And I'm worried we're going to lose that. So I'll just turn it over to CAO.
Thank you, through you, Revimo. So that may be another option is, proceed with the budget. Presumably we're pretty close, based on the conversations we've had at committee on the rest of the budget. If this is the only outstanding item to propose it, and then once the mayor comes forward with the mayor's proposed budget, council then has 30 days to amend the budget, which again is then subject to the vetoes and the overrides, etc. But there may be a window there that the impacts to the library can be reviewed in a bit more detail and a bit more fulsome discussion, and then introduce any budget amendments resulting from those discussions during that 30-day amendment window, which might give us a bit more time.
Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Reeve, and just to clarify, so you're talking about dealing with it now and then let the process take over? Because we don't know which way the vote's going to go, but you're talking about just let the process take over with the strong mayor powers. Is that correct? But, sorry, and I want to capture what I think you're trying to say, and that would give the director more time to get us information? Is that the road you're going down?
Through you, Reeve. Yeah, that's exactly it. So during that 30-day period after the budget is proposed by the mayor, council then has an opportunity to propose amendments to the budget. And through that process, you could look at making any changes to the library budget that you'd like to at that point, once you've had an opportunity to review additional information. So what that would look like after tonight is we would have a budget meeting, the budget committee meeting. The budget committee, we come out of that committee with a recommendation to propose the budget as is to the mayor as the committee draft budget. The mayor would then review, determine whether he is happy with that draft, and then propose the budget with any changes that he would like to. And then 30 days after that point, and I'm going to invite the clerk to correct that. I think I'm on track so far. 30 days after that point, then council has another opportunity to make amendments to the budget. And so within that window, there are a couple of council meetings that it might be good to have Director Latondras come forward with additional information, perhaps more detail, some more options, perhaps in consultation with the library board to determine exactly the effects of the proposed cuts and maybe find a solution. That would be my suggestion. Thank you.
This is also new that the strong mayor stuff really interferes with budgeting. It's supposed to assist it, but because we're all learning on the fly, essentially, we've all had training at different times. So you'll see the three of us going back and forth on it because we all have different responsibilities. Mr. Withers, as the CAO, has a responsibility to the corporation, and the clerk has a responsibility to the legislation, and I have a responsibility to try and get it completed. So that's got some very competing outlooks. And I see you, and I'll just go to the clerk.
Thank you, and through you, Reeve. Okay, so yes, to CAO Weather's point is that once the mayor does propose his budget for 2026, the council would have 30 days to review that budget and put forward any amendments. So the idea, and I think the mayor's intent when he initially issued the MDE for the budget committee back in the summer was to give as much of a feel as previous budget process as much as possible, which is why he established the budget committee to review kind of staff's initial draft to what I would classify as hash this out and give discussion to kind of bring forward any changes, make any changes, so that could be presented to him as kind of the budget committee's desires and wishes. And then he would take the time then to review it and then propose his budget, whether that is exactly as it stands from the committee, whether there's changes that he decides to make at that time. That's for the mayor to decide. Once he's proposed that budget, then council would have a chance to review and again put forward any of their desired amendments. Like I said, because he's initiated this back in July, which to Councillor McDonald's, your original point is every municipality is kind of handling this different on their own timelines. Some aren't doing budget committees. Some are doing one-on-one with the treasurer. Some mayors are proposing what they feel is what they want to propose at the time. So everybody's handling different timelines. I believe Mayor Sydney's intent by issuing the MDE in July was to provide adequate time for staff to gather, bring forward to the committee. The committee, since October 1st, has had the budget in front of them, has had time to review. But I think I answered that question, and I think I confirmed what CAO Withers had said.
And just for my education, and I think everybody else, there is a drop-dead date that if we don't have a budget that we agree on, that what happens on that day?
Once again, through you. So I would say the drop-dead date for the mayor to propose is on or before February 1st. So that is his drop-dead date to propose his budget. That initiates the rest of the timeline. So if he proposes the budget on February 1st, council has 30 days from that date to amend. Once that 30 days has expired, if the mayor has not vetoed any of those amendments or has accepted those amendments, then it's deemed adopted at that time, unlike the old process where we would have a bylaw by council adopted. If the mayor vetoes any of the amended changes by council, then there is a 10-day window that starts for council to review, and then there's an override period. So I can pull my notes if you want the exact timeline, but I would say at this point in time, the only to answer your point is a drop dead date is the mayor will propose the budget on or before February 1st.
McDonald and Councillor Cybulski.
Thank you, Reeve, and this question is directed towards you. So you would like to finalize the budget tonight. I understand the procedural stuff the CAO is talking about and that we have deadlines. Is that your desire? First question.
Well, yeah, just I sort of laid out a mental path forward in that the idea was to get it settled this evening, present it to the mayor, then he has time when he returns on January the 6th, I believe. I sent him an email, and I believe the CEO sent him an email this morning. The idea is that he would come back in from his leave and spend the first week individually with each member of the leadership team, review the budget by department, and then offer his comments from there. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I understand where you're going procedurally. Yeah. So the motion's still on the floor right now for conversations? Okay. So I'll just tidy up with this. I'm going to be, and I want to explain to the public, I'm going to be voting a certain way tonight because I'm not satisfied with the information I have, but I also understand the director needs some more time to get us the information we require. So although you may not be happy with my vote tonight, procedurally, I'm satisfied. That gives the director more time to answer some of the questions I have. I can't speak for anyone else here, but that I have before I move forward. So I want to be very clear. My vote's going a certain way tonight. Procedurally allows us more time to have discussions with the director and give her the opportunity to provide the information that I'm looking for. The others can speak for themselves, okay? So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, I had Cybulski and then Legree.
Yeah, thank you. Through Reeve. I was going to be the bump on the road and just speak to timelines. You know, we spoke to this on December 2nd. Here we are the 16th. That's been 14 days. I understand there's weekend in there and whatnot, but often that's enough time for our staff to turn a report around. I know that this is a little bit bigger report, and we were asking a little bit more, but to extend everything 14 days, and no disrespect, I would have liked to see more options, more information, more data on this particular report. I believe the timeline was pretty sufficient to get us something. Thank you.
Director, and then Councillor Legree.
Thank you. I cannot make decisions and reports on my own. I report through the library board. I had to make sure all of the board was able to meet. They make the decisions that then comes to council.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. Earlier tonight, we heard a delegation, and Councillor Andrew Dick asked a question directly in regard to what those long-term budget cuts would be. And the answer from the acting chair was, that is not my decision, that is not my call, that is someone else's call. So could I have it clarified whose decision that is to make these decisions? Thank you.
Okay. Director?
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. The entire board has to vote on those decisions. So a board member cannot speak without it having been ratified by the entire board. Thank you.
So my impression is a scenario would be presented to the board. The board would offer a vote on it, and then it would come as essentially corporation policy or corporation decision back to us as a recommendation. And then I do see Councillor Legree. Go ahead.
Through your EVMO. So yes, I will say once council made that decision, Director Latondra sent an email out to the board immediately before I even left this room. And it's not easy. We had a BIA board meeting 2 weeks ago and they didn't have quorum. It's tough to get people all together right now. So just for the viewing people, the director did not have 14 days. She had 4 or 5 days to put this together. The time the board got together and met, and we were on the call, some of you here are board members, we were on the call for quite some time trying to figure out how to put this all together and present it to council tonight. So I think some council members think you just snap your fingers and it happens. I also want to thank the director for reminding council, because they forget quickly, that we did go through and make cuts and look at where we can cut and all that, and it did come back to council, so thank you on that. And to Councillor Andrew Dix, I agree 100%, the town's in a terrible position right now, and we need to watch every dollar that is spent. I 100% agree with you. But in my mind, now is the time more than ever that we need the library. And the library is not the same as every other department. It's not the same as fire and public works and all that. The library is the people that work there. Their OPEX budget is, what, $130,000 a year? We're almost cutting the whole thing at $117,000. The whole OPEX budget, just, that's what you're asking them to do, the board, just get rid of the whole thing, their whole operating expense, so minus the wages. And that's not done just in a couple of days to have a report back to you. So, but now that the town is in this position, families, husbands and wives, whatever, partners, they're working long hours. They're not going on trips because they can't afford it. I see it every day. I hear it. I get it. But this is where the children and the families go to places like the library, where they have a safe space. They can go in, cheap or free, do programming, stuff like that. So in my mind, to Councillor Dick's point, he's 100% right, fully agree with him, but now is the time we need the library more than ever. And I'll just wrap up with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so with that, I'll make a couple. I've been sitting because it's tradition. I don't know if it's written in the procedural bylaw, but it's kind of tradition that the chair ends up trying to sum it up before calling the vote. I've received a lot of emails, and I've responded to every one of them, I believe. And I think one of the consistent themes is the inability, and we've mentioned it here, to capture metrics that everybody can agree on as to the value of the library. We can talk about the number of people that visit, we can talk about the number of books that are out, we can talk about the number of ebooks, we can talk about the number of programs, we can talk about outreach, but at the same time, you're not measuring apples. Chief guest, not to center him out, can talk about incidents and responses and how many inspections and how many kilometers the trucks rolled and things like that. We're not able to get those kinds of metrics for the library that are consistently, I think, agreed upon. So That's a struggle. And as I said in my emails, we end up turning to the community to gauge, their perception of the value of the library. And so we had, emails from PFLAG. We have had emails from parents, and some people were quite astute in their observations, where they mentioned that the library dealt with all demographics and all status of citizens in our community, from people that are less fortunate through some of us who are more fortunate. It talked about They talked about homelessness. They talked about coming to the community for the very first time, as Ms. Heaslip did. There was a number of people made mention that they came to the community for the first time, went to some of the programs, and now feel connected to the community. My own observation was that the library is on the corner of Low Square, and we have a lot of events here, and the town office isn't open on a Saturday. It's not open on Sunday. It's not open during the evenings when some of the events are held. So the library ends up being the focal point where people flood out from or flood back into for the programming. And I think that kind of leadership is valuable. And I think, what we've asked the library to do over the years, we may not have known what we're doing. We weren't setting up, we had no grand plan to make them become more of an assistance agency or a social learning agency, or a place where children could go before they're off to kindergarten, where infants and parents went for classes. There's also the specialty classes that are brought in to talk about cooking and to talk about how you maintain your laptop, or how you use your laptop, how you use your phone. All of those are necessary in our community, and if the library doesn't do it, nobody else does. And I think, I've struggled with this because of the financial piece, because you're aware from talking to people what an impact our decisions have. I also chair the county finance committee, so I have that awareness as well as to the budget pressures there. So it's an interesting time to be trying to meld together answers that satisfy most people, not all. The library is very important to us, and it has been for a long time. And at this point, the budget process is working as it should. It's unwieldy. It certainly is unwieldy, but it's working as it should, because we're getting input as to the value of the library, and we can't really ascertain the value of it with any other measurement. So thank you very much for being here tonight, being orderly, and certainly as Councillor MacDonald mentioned, the respectful nature of all the communication we've received. That's not always the case. I've had a number of things attached to my name, and they weren't Mr. or Reeve. So on the front end, when I've been dealt with, so I really appreciate the polite nature of the emails, and they've all been very instructive as well. So there's been information we received. So thank you for that. And with that, Councillor Legree.
Through your review, could I request the clerk do a recorded vote, please?
Okay, and with that, I will, Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Reeve Emo, and through you. So 2 questions. The first question is, regardless of the vote tonight, that could be overturned by strong mayor powers.
In theory, if the vote goes to remove the funding or shrink the funding back to 2024 levels, in theory, yes, the mayor could reverse that.
Okay, and then the next question is, there's 6 of us here tonight. If it's a tie vote, what's that mean? Does it mean it's defeated or it's a win?
It's a lost vote.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Legree, please.
Sorry, Reeve. I know council has the motion here in front of us. Could the clerk just read it out for the public, please?
Certainly.
For you. That Renfrew Town Council reduce the 2026 Renfrew Public Library grant to be the same as what was presented in 2024 at a total of $611,222. Is that clear?
Thank you. Okay, please call the vote.
Right. Councillor Legree, I'll start with you.
Not in favor.
Councillor McWhorter.
In favor?
Councillor McDonald.
In favor.
Councillor Zabolski.
In favor.
Councillor Dick.
Not in favor.
Revimo.
Not in favor.
The vote is defeated, tie. Defeated.
Thank you. And council, now what I'd like to do is call a 5-minute recess, and then we'll move into the budget meeting, and then we'll come back. Once we conclude that, we'll come back to this one. Okay, thank you.